Hi, today we will try to understand some of the corporate lessons that we can learn from the movie Pushpa. This is a super hit movie of recent times, and the character Pushpa Raj has fascinated so many people across India. The lesson one is first thing, if you see this character, is he is very clear on the product. Like they showed at the start of the movie, that red sandalwood is the product. So this character, the main character, is very clear that this is a product that he would be searching for, and in future he wanted to be the boss of managing the supply chain of this product. In terms of IT, what you should think is, what is it that your company sells? Most of us, since we work for IT, software services is what our company sells. Even if you are working for captive centers, for example Bank of America, Barclays and so on, and you are in the IT sector, you are providing IT services. That is a product you are trying to sell, so that your company can make more profits because of some other things like customer acquisitions, etc. In our case, we need to be a bit more specific about what are we selling. For example, I have put 3 points. For example, we can be selling applications. We will create them to smoothen the financial payment tracking. If you are working for a bank or you're working for an online retail application, then this is something which you would do. Or you would enable data migration from on-prem to cloud in a hybrid cloud or a multi-cloud environment. Or you might implement AI and ML use cases to automatically detect frauds. These are just some examples, so you have to be very clear what is it that you are going to sell, what is your domain, and it can be one of these things or it can be multiple areas that you may be contributing. So you have to be dead clear about that, and you need to know that stuff in and out, like the breadth of the technology that you are selling. You should know about it. Now the next thing that you should focus on, and that we learn from this character Pushpa Raj, is that where do we source the product from. He's very clear. He goes to the jungles, he travels a few hours along with his team to source this sandalwood, cut the trees and get the sandalwood. So if you see this, he is going deep into the jungle. So this movie had excellent visuals around the forests. The forest scenes looked scary. Now sourcing in our case can be usage of hybrid cloud technologies or multi-cloud technologies, or modernization technologies, automation technologies, predictive technologies. So it's, if you are in this field, you will have to decide. You will use a combination of, say, some Azure tools and on-premises tool, or you will use a learning AI routines to solve a business problem and so on. So you will have to understand the technologies that will be behind what you're trying to achieve, where you will be sourcing them from, like which cloud player, which product, whether it will be Salesforce or it will be AWS and so on. Understanding sourcing is the key, because once you understand that path, you will always be able to deliver things. Now, another lesson that we learn is understand the end-to-end implementation cycle. If you see this character in the movie, Pushpa Raj, he tries to understand the end-to-end cycle. That's where he discovers that the amount of commission given to the police to clear those trucks is a lot less than what uh, I think Manga is charging that. And that's where he brings his idea and innovates a bit, for which there is a lot of turbulence. Another thing he did is he understood the bottom to top hierarchy. He understood who are the people that matter. He identified them as key stakeholders, and then he went with disruption, identifying few key stakeholders. So that's how we have to do in our corporate life as well. You need to understand the end-to-end implementation cycle of your product that you are developing for the client, or the service that you are putting forward to the client. Then you need to understand the entire hierarchy of your own organization as well as the client organization. You need to understand, in order to drive more business revenue, who from the client would be in a decision making uh, place, or would have the authority to sign those contracts for you. And those are the people that matter. And then there is a technical team from the client side who, if get influenced, they will tell the sponsors that we are influenced with this technology revolution that is being proposed, and please sign the contract for us. Now, the lesson 4 that we learn from Pushparaj is that you should create trusted teams. His team, they trust him, so they're doing whatever is required, and they just follow the orders because they trust in his decision. So here in his means we are referring to Pushparaj character in this movie. And always have a successor ready. If you see in the movie, I think 2 of the Reddy brothers die, 1 of the Reddy brothers survive, and Pushparaj makes sure that he is his partner, he is the successor, because Pushparaj is trying to play a big game. He will move above, or he will move up the ladder. And this is a corporate lesson you should remember, whenever you plan to move up the ladder, have someone from your team as a successor whom you can put in the reins and you can move up the ladder. See, another important lesson is that this character has an immense risk-taking appetite. In the movie, he is jumping across and he is taking a hell lot of risks. He's trying to just get in war with people who are really cruel and dangerous, but he's not scared doing that. So how can we incorporate, or in IT sector, how can we increase our risk-taking appetite? So some key pointers. So these are some key pointers. The first one I'm mentioning about is have the audacity to break norms. For example, you may be a web developer, but you think that there is immense amount of scope in AI. So just do not go there and say that, hey, I want to work in AI. Try to break the norm, build a solid use case, cross-train yourself in secret, and then you go and say that, I have a use case and I have already implemented a portion of it. So that talks volume about yourself. And the thing is, you ask for higher roles. See, if you have built the skills, usually what I see in my organization is people come in and I work in the capacity of a senior manager. So people come to me and they say that I want a higher role, okay, without fulfilling the prerequisites for the higher role, or without cross training or cross skilling themselves in the niche technologies, and without showing any evidence of demonstration of those skills. Okay, so ask for those higher roles, but before that, do this groundwork. Ask for hikes, because if you have done these groundworks, if you have cleared the certifications on cloud and you have learned niche skills, you have done one sample project or using these skills, getting a hike is no big deal, especially in this market. Okay? This is a fish market currently in the IT industry. For the last 5-6 months, it was a fish market. Now it has started stabilizing. Okay, we do not see that kind of hikes in the near future. Some hike will be there, but not exorbitantly high. The last thing I would like to emphasize here is ask for opportunities to work in the turnkey projects. So what did our guy did? Our guy, he didn't, just because he got a job, he was not satisfied with that. He kept asking, he kept pushing the envelope, he kept asking his bosses, and his bosses were not happy about it. And still he would go to them with a deal that their bosses could not refuse. You should also go to your boss with a deal which they cannot refuse. Now you see in the movie that Pushparaj is caught. The police are just beating him left and right, black and blue. What does he do? Whatever secrets he had, he never disclosed that. Okay. Second, he took the blame for the team. So that is crucial. If you refer our ex-president's interviews, our president Abdul Kalam, he was very specific in saying that whenever your team succeeds, give the credit to your team. Whenever your team fails, take the blame on yourself. The failure is due to you, the success is due to your team. This is what this character also follows. He never saw in the movie that he told that I could not deliver this because this guy in my team didn't perform, or that guy in my team didn't perform. Now, lesson number 7. This is a really interesting one. So this character Pushparaj is getting hit by the police cops or whoever, and what he does is, if you see, he was not crying, he was not shouting in pain and etc. He's taking everything with grace. What he's doing is he's putting the other party in tension. In fact, in this case, the cops were tired and the cops were thinking about how to get the secret extracted from him, but he was handling it with grace. So this is a very important lesson for the corporates. For if you, even if you are a team member or you are a team lead, an architect, project manager, project executives, so on, you should handle distress scenarios with grace. Okay. What this means in our world is, if suppose you as a developer have screwed up the code, handle disgrace, tell them that I'm going to spend a whole night, I'll fix this, I'll ensure this is delivered in time. Okay, it's my mistake, I own it. So you should handle it with grace, instead of saying that, X didn't deliver, Y didn't deliver, etc, etc. Okay, if X didn't deliver and you had some dependencies, you should have highlighted it in the earlier stages and not when your deadline is crossed. So that's how you can handle distress. If you are a part of management in any organization, I'm telling you, this is a key lesson, because your reportees, they look up to you, and they try to mold themselves with the behavior you are displaying. So this is very important for you to always present yourself with grace. Now, when we are talking about grace, how can we forget this body gesture of this character Pushparaj? What does this symbolize is, if you see in this movie, there was a stage when Fahad Fasil's character, towards the end, he comes in, and that time you saw for a short period of time when he was interacting with Fahad Fasil. During that time, this shoulder was down, because this was a symbol that this is his pride. When it was down, that means he was not in pride and he was trying to just obey the orders of Fasil. So this is what is important in corporates also. You should have a positive and an assertive body gesture. Okay, what are the disadvantages of not having this is, first thing is, the team and your management would think that you are not a positive character. You always come up with reasons why certain things cannot be done. Okay, and assertive body gesture shows that you are pretty active, a healthy body, healthy mind, a go-getter kind of vibes comes from your body gesture. So that is something which is really attractive to anyone. Even if you're trying to date some girls, if you have that kind of assertive body gesture, that is good. Now, assertive does not mean aggressive. Okay, there is a difference between aggressive and assertive, and your gesture should always be positive. Your thoughts should be positive. In this movie, you never saw the character Pushparaj being negative about anything. He was positive, even if the goals that he set for himself seemed very high, but he was sure that he would achieve it, and he wants to achieve it. He was doing everything to achieve it, taking all sort of risks, and he didn't want to achieve it in 10 years or 20 years. He wanted in a very short span of time. You must have saw this gesture. This Allu Arjun keeps doing this gesture, and he's calling his name. What it symbolizes is, if you see psychology lessons, if you talk to a psychiatrist, he will tell this character is doing this because not for others. He is giving himself self-confidence, because at that time his confidence is a bit low, and by rubbing his beard and saying this dialogue, he is trying to motivate himself, not others. Okay, that is one. Second is, it also symbolizes that he takes personal pride in whatever he does. Taking personal pride is the key. In corporates, when you are delivering certain piece of code or a documentation, a technical specification, or an architectural blueprint, design, or test cases, test strategy documents, anything, a project plan, a status report to the client, you should take personal pride. What I mean by personal pride is, you should document or work on it such that nobody should be able to identify defects of any sort. Even a minute nature of defect is नहीं चलता है. It does not work. It should be bang on. That is first. Okay. Second is, if you're talking in front of the client, if you take personal pride, if you start taking personal pride in your work from today, you will see in the next few weeks, if not months, that interaction with your superiors and your clients will start going in a different direction. They would start trusting you. Trust in any world, trust is the key. If people trust you, they will give you more opportunity, more work, and that is when you can bargain to climb up the ladder by taking higher roles. Now, you have seen these characters in the movie, very dangerous looking characters. I would say, I'm pretty sure these guys are great human beings in real life. This is the way they have been portrayed in the movie, as well as this gentleman here. All of them excellent actors, because uh, I saw them and I was scared for the Pushparaj character, because these guys looked way too dangerous to me. So the lesson we learn is identify your competition. Pushparaj or Allu Arjun in the movie, what he's doing is he's identifying the competition. He knows whom to pick, whom to destroy. And in order to destroy, what does he need? He needs skills. He needs to understand the end-to-end supply chain. He needs to understand the product very well from where it is sourced. He needs to understand the end-to-end implementation life cycle. That is, whom to pay the cut to get the trucks out and all those stuff in between for approvals. He knows that. If you know the business well, you can kill the competition. So if you see in this movie, this scene, this is where, Pushparaj was taken by surprise because of the character Jolly Reddy didn't move the woods outside and the police raided it. He just had a small span of time to get the woods out, and he had a plan B. Though the movie didn't show that they had a plan B, but they showed that immediately, impromptu, he created a plan B, sent his friend to the dam to lock the dam, and this guy put all the wood in the river. The key here is always have a plan B. Even in your corporate life, have a plan B. What it means is plan B in almost everything. In the solution, if you are giving a solution which works one way, always have a plan B, that in case it doesn't work, what route you will take. Second, in terms of deliveries, if you know that this piece of work will take 2 days, always ask for 3 days or 3.5 days, because keep a buffer for plan B. You may fall sick, or certain things, certain dependencies that you thought was not fulfilled. That is plan B. Even in your personal life with your career, have a plan B. Like if you think that people are taking you for granted, that you would never leave the company, keep giving them vibes that you're attending interviews, you're having offers, and those kind of stuff. Okay, always have a plan B in mind. Needless to say, even in financial aspects, you should have a plan B. Okay, only with your spouse you should not have a plan B. You should be dedicated to your spouse, husband or wife, whatever. You should be dedicated. That is the only way to give your kids a carefree life. Now we saw this truck scene, and it was a really old, damaged truck. They didn't. This was my only complaint in this movie, was they could have taken a better truck, a relatively new one, and then broken that in the stunt. But needless, the visuals were fantastic. Allu Arjun was fantastic. All the characters, in fact, they are excellent actors. I know a lot of people think that this movie is over the top. It is, but at certain times when you are surrounded by COVID and those kind of stuff, who cares for real stuff? We want over the top stuff, and especially if it is Allu Arjun, it has to be over the top. So what we learn from this scene, specifically this scene and some other scenes, is this character Pushparaj always had an exit strategy. You should always have exit strategy built in your projects. For example, you should have an exit criteria, Like if you're delivering certain things, what is the exit criteria? Exit criteria is the testing should be completed successfully, the client should have done the user acceptance testing, the VPs or the IT heads of the client should have signed this, and this is how the exits would work. Have the exit strategy defined for each and every work you do. Have the exit strategy defined or created in your mind for achieving your long-term goals as well. Because if you do not exit from a particular role at a particular time, you would be that much far away from your goals, achieving your goals. So you have to time box certain things. Okay, the companies will always tell you, hey, you have to be 2 years in a project or 1 year in a project. Don't care about it. If you think you're learning in a project, stopped after 6 months. Okay, stay for 3 more months so that the project can gain out of you, and then plan an exit strategy. Never stay in a project if your learning has stopped. You can stay in that project if you think that the project is giving you a learning opportunity in some other technology or in some other business units of that project, which is well and good. But keep moving. Every year, keep moving. So whenever you saw this character rubbing his beard, it also meant that he is trying to reinstate the goals. He's telling himself, boss, this is my goal. I would not bend. मैं झुकेगा नहीं. That means I would not leave it. I would achieve it. He is giving himself that confidence. So the corporate lesson here is be maniacally focused on your goals. Be a go-getter. Okay. If you have established the goals and if you have time boxed the goals, that within the next 3 months I have to achieve this. Within the next 6 months I have to achieve this. Be maniacally focused. Don't get bogged by the project work, and there will be always scenarios where the project would tell you, hey, you are working 8 hours, now we need 12 hours of your work for this stipulated time of say 2 weeks or 3 weeks. One-off scenarios is fine, but if it happens frequently, you will have to think about an exit strategy. Now in the movie you always saw this cop was always behind Pushpa Raj. So what we learned from the way Pushpa Raj was handling this guy was, we learned that in corporates you should manage auditors and quality reviewers well. You should have a strategy to handle these guys. You should always know that these guys will be behind you. That is the work of auditors and quality reviewers. Similarly in this movie, it was the work of this cop to be after him, to stop antisocial elements. One more lesson that we learn is be ruthless to your competition. So we always saw this in the promos as well as in the movie. Pushpa is not a flower. Pushpa is the fire. What he's doing is this character is always trying to build this fear among his competitors. He's trying to be ruthless to his competitors. The message in this scene he was delivering was he was not scared. If you see this scene, just before Pushpa Raj enters this scene, this guy here, he was murdering someone. Okay. And why he was murdering someone? Because that guy asked for better rates, and this guy had gone there to ask for better rates. He still made his point through. This is a very interesting scene, one of the best scenes. I like this scene a lot because this also talks about how you should be behaving on the negotiation table. So be ruthless to your competition. Adopt a good negotiation skill. And last lesson for this video is, we saw this character, this guy, excellent actor. He's an excellent actor, and he played a real asshole in this movie. So this is my last lesson. Devise special strategies to manage such assholes. You will find assholes in your project, in your organization. It can be your team member, it can be your managers, uplines, anywhere. Okay, you will need to create a special strategy for them. Okay, in your mind you should have that ready. Now this channel is all about giving you more, so let me give you one more or one bonus lesson. You see, the character in this movie was very agile, very skillful, taking risks and so on. So this is a very important lesson. Any implementation should have 3S: surprise, speed, and skill. Any implementation should have 3S: surprise, speed, and skill. It can be in any walk of life. This line also comes from a very famous personality. I would leave it to you if you can drop in your comments who this personality is, who gave this motto or whose motto is this? Please let me know. He is associated to to the Indian defense teams. So this brings us to the end of this video, where we looked at the top 15 corporate lessons that we should learn from the character Pushpa Raj from the movie Pushpa. Please subscribe to my channel and do drop in your comments if you have any constructive comments. See you in the next video series.